From the lifestyle choices that historically affect Black men's health to the systemic constructs that make success seem almost impossible. Working with Lee can help you create and define your own success. Everything you've done up until this point in your life has been to survive. Now it's time to learn the tools to thrive. So I want to jump right on and bring Lee on because we got a lot to talk about. So, hey, Lee. Hey, how are
Hey,
you?
hey, Valerie. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. I appreciate that.
Yes,
Absolutely.
this is so, so needed. Oh my God. I mean,
Mhm.
it's so, I got notes. I don't even know where to start because it, especially in today's climate,
Mhm.
you know, as a Black man, as a Black
Mhm.
person, really, and,
Sure.
now,
Well,
like you said, the racism, the systemic constructs that
mhm.
impact us is horrible.
We could say black and brown people. We can say as a woman, as someone, people have disability at
Yes,
every level, every level.
yes,
Absolutely.
every
Yeah.
level, because especially for the Black and brown community, it's just
Mhm.
it's evident. You see it every day, you hear it every day, and
Yeah.
some things are treated fairly, but the majority of them aren't, and
Absolutely.
it's just mind blowing. So tell us something a little bit about what you do and
Sure.
your plans for changing the survive to thrive.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Um, well, I've been in the television industry for almost 30 years, going on 28 some odd years. And over the last 3 years, I've been transitioning away from television into coaching.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and as I started this coaching journey back in 2019, what I realized was that number one, I've kind of been on this journey my whole life, right?
Mm-hmm.
But number two, on the coaching journey, I'm allowed to give people space to be themselves and to be whole and to think about what success looks like for them or what healing looks like. Like you talked to it, well, I'm not trying to plug your book, but I have it. I have
Go
the
ahead.
it's the Knight in Rusted Armor. I think that's
Yeah.
the title, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a great pledge, right? So
Yes.
you talked
Yeah.
about no judgment. Just I want to touch on that for a quick second, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the beauty that I have found in this coaching journey. I found that if I wanted to really, really help people, right? How many people do we know that point the finger and say, "Hey, you should do this, you should do that," because my opinion is right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
and it's human nature. We do that. As a coach, being judgment free and letting someone really express themselves and have that space is one of the most beautiful things. So that
Yes.
really hits home with your book about domestic abuse survivors, right? It- you cannot judge their situation because you're not in their shoes.
Mm-hmm.
And so I will circle that back to being a black man here in this country, right? Again, as I started on this coaching journey, number one, I realized that there's not many black men in this space,
Right.
first of all.
Right.
Um, and so, as you introduced me, historically, what has been there are so many things that are roadblocks and that are constructs that are in our way. Um, I don't know who's listening, but I'm going to give your listeners an unpopular opinion,
Mm-hmm.
although some of them might agree. The country was founded in the way that it's supposed to be working. Okay. So let me expand on that just a bit. So I'm not sitting here saying what is happening is right. What I'm saying is it was meant to keep white male landowners in power.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I want to operate from that space. That doesn't mean that everyone else gets treated badly, but that's how the system was designed to keep white male landowners in power. So, because of that, it became this zero sum game where, well, if you start to get more power, if you start to have a bigger voice and you are not a white male landowner, I need to do something to keep your voice quiet.
Mhm.
That's what I want everyone to really think about. It just so happens that those of us from African ancestry endured some of the worst atrocities that we know about. Okay.
Absolutely.
So you fast forward, and I will go back in history a little bit later.
Mhm.
I want to touch on Reconstruction. But talking about today, would anyone blame black and brown people? Would anyone blame black men if they choose to say, you know what, the system is rigged against me, right? It's meant for me not to survive.
Mhm.
There are so many things that I can point to that I should just quit, or I should just sit back and let whatever is happening happen. And I'll just fit in where I can get in, or I'll do something that may or may not be ideal, but it's going to bring me cash. It's going to help me feed my family. Excuse me. Is anyone going to blame a black man if they do that? Right?
Mhm.
Easy enough to take that path. What I have found, and I do it myself, is I choose not to use those things that are already set against me to define who I am and what my success is. It's a choice. It's a choice.
Mhm.
Now, there are plenty of people who will think, well, Lee, I hear you. I have a choice, but I really don't because I'm stuck in the hood. Or, I'm a returning citizen and nobody wants to give a returning citizen a job, right? How am I supposed to, you know, make $1 million a year if no one wants to give a brother a chance, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Then what happens after that? The negative self-talk starts to come in. You start to feed into old habits
Yeah.
only because that's comfortable. That's what you know, right? And it's easier. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying it's what is. It's what you know. It's what's easier. The hard part is making the choice to not care about what those roadblocks are, about what those systemic constructs are that are in place. Yes, is it going to be harder? Absolutely. Might
Mhm.
you be the only one in the room that's doing it? Yes, you might be, right? You might be blazing a trail for two people. But once you make the choice to actually carve your own path and what does success look like for you, right? You have to point the finger that you point at the system, turn it back to you.
Yes. Yes.
That's where it all starts. So I've really grown into this over the last 6 months or so because I don't want I have coached many, many different people.
Mhm.
Over the last 6 months, I've really started to realize that coaching men is a huge critical point to healing a lot of the country and the world. Now, I'm not trying to save the world. I would love to. I would love to, but I know I cannot save the entire world. But what's that ripple effect, right?
You can make an impact.
Absolutely. One at a time, and
Mhm.
these little ripples keep going out, but then they get bigger because that one person here, that one person here, they start telling someone else, they start impacting someone else, and it becomes a tidal wave of hope, if you
Mhm.
will.
I want to go back to what you said about the mentality of the black and brown man.
Sure,
Um,
sure.
and, we can say there's very many ways we can explain this, but
Mhm.
in actuality, I think the black and brown man has been beaten down so much that they are easily willing to accept, the negativity,
Sure.
like, being under exposed, I guess would be the best word, to not know how to work the system
Yeah.
because everyone is against me,
Mhm.
nobody believes in me
Mhm.
because of the history, because of
Mhm.
their lives, because of their socioeconomic status. A lot of them, especially men that are living in lower income areas, or like you said,
Sure.
returning citizens. It
Mhm.
just seems like the black and brown man has so many things against him. Some of them, and some of
Absolutely.
but those are the men that I want you to reach, and I want to
Mhm.
hear this, because don't they are the ones that will survive. I'm just going to survive. This is the way it is.
Sure.
I'm not going to change it. Let's just go with the flow. No.
Mhm. Right.
Mm-mm.
So you talk about that, right? So let's go ahead and jump in. Let's dive in there. Surviving is not bad.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Surviving is not bad. That's what we all have done, right?
Yes.
But giving these guys a chance, this is what happens when you give them a space. And when you give them that space to just pump the brakes and slow down and think about it, the first thing you have to do is peel back all these layers of what's already there, right?
Yes.
Because
Yes.
the truth is deep down in there. But when you see the stereotypes, when you keep getting the rejections, when you can't catch a break, right? You can start to believe all those things.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to peel back all those layers. And okay, here's another unpopular opinion for any of the guys who feel this way, right? Who will sit there and argue with me that Lee, you know what, you crazy, you full of it because yeah, the system is against me and I'm not going to win. I'm gonna do it
Mm-hmm.
my way, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I want to pose a question. What part did you have to play, and what actions have you used to help create that situation?
Mm-hmm. And
We
that
always have a part.
Yes, that's a deep question because, sometimes people aren't willing to admit that
Mhm.
sometimes they are, the culprit. They are the reason why, things are happening. And
Mhm.
I think that, in your coaching, where you give them the tools to learn how to change that narrative, to
Yes.
change the way that they think. It takes a lot to change their mindset. And
Absolutely.
I think that what black and brown men need in order to open up is a
Mhm.
safe space, a place where they can feel, they can say what they want to say, pour their hearts out.
In the way they wanna say it. In the way they
Exactly.
wanna say it.
And I
Yeah.
think that that would be a first step for them to start to release and to
Mhm.
begin to heal. Just like in my other book, where I talk about breaking the silence,
Yes.
and taking that
Yes.
mask off, because it's so easy, to go outside and, yeah, I got it going on. I got this, I got that. I'm doing this,
Mhm.
I'm doing that. And knowing in actuality you aren't.
Yep.
You're not at your best,
Yep.
and you are surviving. And like you said, it's okay to survive because we all survive,
Sure.
you
Well,
know.
you said it best too with your book talking about that facade, right?
Mhm.
So what's the worst thing to do when you are trying to change? It's looking in the mirror
Yes. Yeah.
because we so badly want to believe the facade that we
Hmm.
have, right? But when you take that away and you see the truth, it can be ugly.
Yes.
It can be ugly. It can
Yeah.
be scary. It can be nasty. It can be the worst thing that you think. But I want to offer this, right? When you look, man, I was about to start beating the table. When you do that, when you look in the mirror, just imagine it's only what is. That's not what defines you.
Mhm.
It doesn't define you. It's only what is because of what? It's helped you survive.
Yes.
And so that's why survival is okay.
Mhm.
But like you said, so in my coaching, that safe space to be able to feel and say and just be a whole person, right? Here's part of the issue. Black and brown men have never in this society, we've never really done a good job of letting them be a whole person.
Yes.
A whole
Yeah.
person, right?
Yes.
I
Yes.
can't tell you how many times in my life, even growing up and young adult and even now, right? Where it's, oh man up or be strong
Mhm.
or oh, the worst one, don't cry.
Mhm. Mhm.
Don't cry, right? I was actually on a call the other day and I was talking to a young man, not coaching him yet, but kind of mentoring, but he
Mhm.
probably will be coaching him.
Mhm.
So I asked him this question and I said, you know what? When's the last time you cried? And his answer was, oh, I think it was about a week or so ago, but it was something like he's in a bit of trouble. So that's, he was thinking about that.
Mhm.
And I said, okay. I said, well, that's good. That sounds like you're not afraid to cry. I said, when is the last time you cried for something good?
Oh.
And it was silent. And he didn't have an answer. And so that's just like one of many things, right? You are allowed as a man, and okay, I am not trying to offend anyone here, but as a heterosexual straight man, you can have emotions and feelings. It doesn't change you.
Right.
That
Right.
doesn't make anything, right? And I think that's another bias or another misconception that, oh, I'm weak if I
Yes.
show
Yes.
emotion,
Yes.
right? Or the only emotion I can show is anger and
Mhm.
frustration, right? If I can create this space of which I do with clients, right? You can actually show those things, but you don't have to act on them,
Mhm.
right? And historically, that's also what's happened. We've been over sexualized, right? Or we've been categorized. If I'll say it this way: when I was graduating high school, when I was turning 18, I was either supposed to be in jail,
Mhm.
I was supposed to be doing drugs or
Yeah.
like dealing, or because I didn't have any kids, but when I was 18, oh, then that made me gay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And none of the above are true. And that's not disrespectful to anyone who's gay or lesbian. I'm just saying that was a stereotype. If you didn't fit into any one of these boxes, you must be one of these.
Exactly.
And what did we talk about earlier in your show? No judgment, right?
No judgment.
So everyone, if we pump the brakes and stop trying to fit everyone into a box that makes it comfortable for us, that's how we also open up space for everyone to be themselves and to
Mhm.
heal,
Mhm.
you know?
And that
That
that it's just. I mean, I want to go back to the crying.
Sure, sure.
Because I don't cry. I don't like to cry either. Because I do think that that's a sign of being weak. But
Yeah.
now I'm trying to get past that. That's just something I put on myself. But to see a man cry,
Mhm.
it just like when I see a man cry, I'm like, what's wrong with you? Like I don't even like. I'm like, do I say something? Do I touch
Oh,
him?
Valerie's
You just
part
don't
of our
have
problem,
that.
people. It's Valerie's fault. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah, it's like you don't see it, you know, and and this particular person, he's not afraid to cry,
Sure.
and I'm just, now I'm kind of used to it, but I was like, at first I was like, what are you doing?
Well,
You
so
crying?
it wasn't something that you were used to, right? So
But
so
it's
here's
something
the
that we don't see in the
yeah.
Black brown community. So when we
Mhm.
do see it, like you said,
Sure.
he's feminine, or he's this, or he's that. No,
Sure.
he's just a person that has emotions and feelings.
And that's it.
Everyone
That's
else.
all it is, right?
But we always want to say that men can't have feelings,
Mhm.
and it's just, I'm telling you, I was totally blown away. I'm like, what are you crying for?
Well, and that's the thing, right? Even you said you don't like to cry. And
Mm-hmm.
that's okay, right? Because I'm gonna get into like this conversation of human behavior, so I won't go too deep into it. But that's one thing that we're kind of taught, right?
Mm-hmm.
Showing emotions is a sign of weakness.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't want anyone to see my weakness, not even the people in my inner circle, right? Because if they see my weakness, now they have an advantage, right?
Yes.
They
Yes.
have and we make up these stories and it's automatic human behavior. Like
Mm-hmm.
we just do that. And so if we can start stepping away from getting out of our heads about these stories that we create, right? If you saw a man cry, doesn't mean anything. Doesn't
Right.
mean anything to you, doesn't mean anything, but also having been a domestic abuse survivor or being a domestic abuse survivor, there were certain things that you felt you couldn't show.
Right. Right.
So that
Absolutely.
so that shaped the lens with which you see things. You
Mm-hmm.
see? So
Mm-hmm.
again, is it wrong that you were like, "Whoa, hold on. Like, why you crying? What's going on?" Is
Yeah.
that right or wrong? No. But now you've learned, right?
Mm-hmm.
And here's the one thing that we can't do as people. Excuse me. Once you learn, you can't go back.
Right.
Once
Right.
you learn better, you cannot go backwards,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you know? So
And I
that
like
that
the happy
oh,
cry.
go ahead. Yeah,
I
yeah.
like
Like
the Because usually the crying is an emotion from a situation,
sure.
but a happy cry, I would like to see that.
Yeah.
I would love to see that.
Like that opens up the world when you ask that question,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Because then they're thinking about, wait a minute, I can cry because I'm happy. Yeah, you can.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
absolutely can. Like, why is it that we can only cry if we're sad? Or
Yes.
here's a prime example, right? We think we're supposed to act a certain way at funerals,
Mhm.
right?
Dress a certain way.
I-
All of
so
it.
I want to share this, and I don't know if I've shared this publicly at all, but my mom passed in 2020, right? And unfortunately, it was not due to COVID, but it was due to cancer.
Sorry.
So, no, yeah, no problem. I appreciate that. And so, it's already hard enough. How do you, anyone who had to go to a funeral or have a funeral during this pandemic, that's already difficult enough
Yes.
as it is, right? That's just
Yes.
a whole nother situation.
Mhm.
And so, at her funeral, I was thinking, it was like, you know what? It's obviously it's a few people there. It's not packed church or anything, and we did it online. But I actually spoke at her funeral, right?
Wow.
And I was dressed. I had a red shirt on. I had khakis on. I had comfortable shoes on, and I started speaking by saying, "You know what? I am dressed this way because I am continuing her legacy.
Mhm.
Her legacy was I accept you as you are. Come as you are, right?
Mhm.
And why does a funeral, while it's sad for those of us who are still alive, it is part of the whole cycle, right? So why don't we celebrate what that person meant to us? And why
Yes.
don't we celebrate all the interactions that we did have? Then you get to change that from sad cries to a happy cry, right?
Mhm. Mm-hmm.
because you get to be in gratitude of having been with that person.
Yes.
Now, don't get me wrong. Of course, I miss my mom. There's plenty of days where I'm like, you know what? I'm not feeling it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're allowed to be that as well. But that's not the only emotion that has to come from that. Crying is not the only thing that has to be sad, you
Right.
know?
Right. And
Yeah.
for funerals, that's so true. Like when I did my husband's funeral, of
Hmm.
course I was really sad, but I wanted people to remember him how he was. Like
Hmm.
I know they were shocked when they came in and seen him in a short outfit.
See, right. But that's because that's who he was. It
Yeah,
in all fairness, we had my mom in her red shoes.
yeah. And he always wore those hats, like those little Jeff caps. So
Yeah.
he didn't. I think, yeah, he did have that on, and he always had sunglasses on.
Mhm.
So I wanted him to look like he looked. I
Absolutely.
didn't want to do the suit and the this and the that, to be traditional.
Mhm.
Crying was allowed, and
Absolutely.
but
Absolutely.
it was like a party. I had praise dancing. I
Yeah.
had all kinds of things. It was really nice.
And
It was a nice homegoing,
that's the beauty
and that's what we
homegoing.
should do. It should be
Mhm.
to celebrate their
Yes.
lives. And I know, people are probably like, oh, I can't do that because they're my loved one. I
Sure.
know I love my husband more than me,
Sure.
you know. But I wanted to remember the good. I didn't want to
Mhm.
remember, oh, at the funeral, I was sad and I was this and I was that.
Absolutely.
At the funeral, this one came and all my kids, all of us had on burgundy because that was his favorite
Mhm.
color.
Mhm.
The set he had on was given to him by someone who thought he was, acted like he was his dad, and he
I
never got
love that.
to wear it because he was so sick.
Yeah.
So when he came in, he was like, "Oh my God, that's the outfit."
Like
So you have to like change the
it's a
narrative.
mindset.
You have to
Mhm.
change everything and stop making things so doom and gloom, because then
Mhm.
that just, carries on
Sure.
over, into your life. And, you know, I keep, hearing this survive and thrive, in
Yeah.
my head. And it's just two things that have to go together.
Well,
You
here's how I look at surviving and thriving, right? So again, with like what we're talking about, it's always a choice, Valerie. It's always a choice, right? You can survive and you can stay that way. And you can go through the rest of your life surviving, right?
Mhm,
Just like we're talking about, it's a choice on how grief is the process, right?
mhm.
You get to choose suffering.
Yes.
You get to choose how long you want to suffer, right?
Mhm.
It's the
Absolutely.
same thing with surviving and thriving. You get to choose how long you want to survive. And when you start to think about thriving, that's different for everybody, right?
Mhm.
But you have to let go of old mindsets, of
Mm.
old habits that helped you survive. You have to let go of those so that we can fill that space with the new habits, with
Right.
the new things to thrive. That's how that works. And I wanted to touch on this real quick. So everybody talks about how long it takes to build a habit, right? There's differing opinions, but it could be 21 days to 30, right? It takes a
Mhm.
month to build a habit. So true. Like that's the real deal, right? What happens, and this really hits home with returning citizens, particularly after that 30 days, right? So let's say you get a returning citizen coming back into society. They like, here's some money. We'll
Right.
set you up for 30 days, and then you're on your own, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
This is what happens after that 30 days.
Right.
Because so in the whole arc of actually anchoring a habit in, 30 days is where you learn it. But then how do you anchor it in? How do you incorporate it into the rest of your life? That's why it takes actually longer than 30 days for a
Mhm.
habit.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you have no support after that, you can start to set back into self-sabotage.
Yes. Yes.
And that's how that works. So I'm jumping into coaching here, and I apologize, but that's kind of what I start with, right?
Mm-hmm.
The first 30 days is recognition and awareness, right? Let's just build awareness. Let's dream. What does thriving look like to you?
Mm-hmm.
And then you get to identify without judgment. And that's the hard part. But you get to identify without judgment what actions are serving that dream of thriving, right? Like how
Yeah.
great so now 30 days, you're feeling great. And what happens? Your boy comes back like, oh, you know, out you this, yo, let's go do this, let's go do that. If that relationship is not serving your purpose of thriving, not telling you to cut the friend off, be like, yo, man, yo, I feel you, appreciate you, night, glad to see you too. This is the plane that I'm on now.
Yes. Yes.
You know, I got to do what's best for me,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and I'm gonna throw this out there. If you care about me like my homeboy, like you really down with me, guess what? I need your help in supporting me in what I'm doing now,
Mm-hmm.
not doing what we did in the past. Because what we did in the past, that's not helping me. That's not helping me thrive. That
Mm-hmm.
only helped me survive, and barely at that. Because now, again, if you're a returning citizen, you already got strikes against you,
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
you know? So that, and back into the coaching, the second 30 days is where we start to reframe things, right? We start to anchor in what that dream looks like, thriving. Because again, we're talking about creating the space. How many times does someone get to dream about what thriving looks like? Maybe that means, you know what, I want to build this house in the country, buy, you know, a farm or something. I don't know, right? Because maybe that's peaceful for them. Maybe they want to own an apartment building and be a better landlord than what they grew up with. Who knows what thriving is, right? But you touched on this before. Representation matters. So that's why it was so important that the 44th president, my inspiration for becoming a coach, by the way,
Mm-hmm.
and people can feel any way they want to feel about
Mm-hmm.
former President Obama. You
Mm-hmm.
know, that's cool. I'm not here to talk about politics.
Right.
What I'm saying is, just like Vice President Kamala Harris, there are people, young folks, who now see, oh, I might be able to do that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Representation,
It gives you
representation.
hope.
Absolutely.
Gives you hope.
You see a face that looks like yours,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not it. No disrespect to my athletes, no disrespect to my entertainers, because y'all doing your thing too. But it's not somebody who's doing something we already know.
Right. And what we aspire to be, some people aspire
Totally.
to be,
Yeah.
because that's what they see as successful,
Sure.
because that's what we've always seen as successful.
Hmm.
Obama and Condoleezza, well,
Yeah. Yeah.
Condoleezza
Yeah.
too,
Kind of like the rights too. Absolutely.
all of them have shown us as Black and Brown people we can do
Hmm.
other things.
Or the
We're not
latest Supreme
here
Court
just
judge,
yeah.
Judge Jackson.
Oh my
Jackson's her
God,
name.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Right. Like.
We can do other things besides play ball and make music, you
Absolutely.
know, because after a while, that's not going to, keep you,
What are you going
because
to
what
do
you want to
after
do,
that
you want
career?
to play out. And
Hmm.
this, gives you, I'm sure Condoleezza Rice is living large, from her books and her life and her, the money that she's
Absolutely.
made
Hmm.
in that time that she was there.
Sure.
For us to aspire to be something other than the norm,
Yep.
what we're used to seeing and what we want to, how many little
Absolutely.
boys want to be professional basketball players, professional football players? Do you
Yep.
want to be president? Do you want to be in charge of a corporation? Do you want to
Yes.
be a lead banker? Like look at those things that will carry you to your retirement. you
It,
know
or even beyond your own life. What
Yes.
is the once you're gone, right? Once you're no longer here physically, what impact have you left?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm originally from Ohio, Valerie, right? And I'm originally from Oberlin, Ohio, small town outside of Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to mention, I call him a young man. People say he's old. LeBron James,
Mm-hmm.
right? Out with the LA Lakers. That's fine. Like I went to the parade when the Cleveland Cavaliers won the championship in 2016, all that. But man, he by far is one of my favorite people, not because he plays basketball,
Right.
because he realized how he grew up and he wanted to make a difference. So he used the platform of basketball and the money to make the and now he lives large.
Yeah.
Hey, you earned it. Do that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But the I Promise School, right?
Yes.
Now he has the University of Akron working with their graduates, not just to go to college, but also job training in the city of Akron, all those things. Like that man is making an impact, right?
Yes. Yes.
That's the difference. And all of those young black and brown kids get to see what he's doing, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That that he believes in them. That's what they need. Not that he's this great basketball player. I mean, yes, that's what they see, but they also see the heart that he's pouring into them.
Yes. Yes.
You
And I mean,
know?
he's everywhere. And
Yeah.
it's so odd because a lot of people don't like him.
I, he's a polarizing figure for sure. They, oh, well, he's this. And you know what? You can say whatever you want about his basketball game. I'm sorry. So I'll even speak about this being a Cleveland sports fan. When he made the decision, and that was what they called it, to
Mm-hmm.
go from Cleveland to Miami, he didn't do anything wrong.
Mm-mm.
Like you had people burning his jersey, and I was like, why? So yes, I'm sad that my team's not going to be good anymore. But
Mm-hmm.
the man, he played out his contract. From what I understand, he's never been in any kind of trouble off the
Nope.
court. He married, he married his high school sweetheart,
And is
right?
still married to her.
No, have no issues, haven't heard anything, even so why are we trying to always find holes in this guy's armor
Mm-hmm.
when all he's doing is trying to leave a legacy and make an impact for the young kids that grew up like he did?
Right. And if anything, you should look at him as an aspiration for your kids.
And a
You know,
businessman.
yes, he
Hmm.
is a businessman.
Yeah.
He is, he makes lots of money. But he is a businessman. But he made himself.
Hmm.
It's not like somebody gave it to him. He
Hmm.
worked hard for what he has, and I think it's an amazing thing that he's doing.
That's a
He's
great example of surviving to thriving.
yes, yes. And I don't, would I love to do that? Yes, I would love to do that. Yeah, I'm making a movie over here. I'm doing this over there. Yes, I'm a 5-time best-selling author, but you know what? I don't have all the money he has. You know,
Not yet. Not
people don't,
yet.
not yet. People don't know. Oh, Valerie Stancil. Like people talk about my name in their house. It's getting there. It's going to
That's
come.
right. They
I'm
will. They
just
will
going to put it right out there.
speak into existence. That's right.
But it's just, like you were talking about the 30 days. And I
Sure.
liked how you said in the next 30,
Hmm.
because those first 30,
Hmm.
because they've lived so long in that old life, those 30 days probably were very, very hard for them to get to the end of the 30. But
Hmm.
at least it's not like they're dropped, because you recognize that it's going to be a transition.
Sure.
So they need some more time, because
Absolutely.
like you said, like here comes this friend, here comes this person. Well, hey man, let's do this. Remember we used to hang out and do that, and we used to do this and do that. No, dude, this is what I'm doing right now. I
Hmm.
have a different, vision for my life. The
Sure.
lens that I'm looking through is not the same. And
And invite that friend along. Like,
yes,
hey, man, like
yeah,
I care about you.
we can do this
Do
together.
you want to be part of this? Yeah.
Right,
Right.
right.
And to add to that, right? First 30 days, second 30 days. My initial program is 3 months. So
Mm-hmm.
there's a third 30 days, right? Because in that second 30 days, you start putting in the tools to anchor in like those new habits, or at
Mm-hmm.
least the one, because it takes a while to build them. So that last 30 days of an initial program, that's when you get to like dream big, right? You
Yes.
get to really think about, wow, how can, like, if I can apply this to simply getting a job, or if I can apply what I've learned to my relationship with food is better, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have a
Mm-hmm.
better diet. Now, wow, what other areas can I apply this to, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Communication, how I'm talking to people, how I'm listening to people. Again, if you want to be an author, right? How do we
Yeah.
apply that? Anything you want to do, we really start to open that up.
Mm-hmm.
So the sweet spot, everybody will tell you, oh yeah, the beach body, 21 days, 30 days. It take the real sweet spot for really anchoring something in that's life changing, that's going to stick with you, 90 days.
Yes. Yes, definitely.
And
And I can speak on that. You
yeah,
know,
well,
from
what's 90
my
days
side.
compared to the rest of your life?
Mm-hmm. And to
It's a
keep
drop
it
in the
up,
bucket.
to make
Yeah.
a lifestyle change,
Yes.
so that when they're not with Lee anymore, I
Hmm.
have the tools so that I can continue to be great, you know.
Absolutely.
And that's what
Absolutely.
I say, people are always like, how can you exercise every day? Why do you exercise every day? Because I feel better.
Hmm.
It's so many reasons,
That's good for it's good for your mental health, not just
right,
your physical
exactly.
health. Yeah,
And like it's my time of, meditation. Um, and then in the end I can
absolutely.
put on anything that I want, where before I'd have to try it. Oh, let me see how this looks again. Does it fit the now I don't even have to try my clothes on at the store. I
Because
just
I
put
know
on
how they're gonna fit because I've
right.
been
It's
doing
on-
this and I've been doing
Right. And
yeah.
and that's with anything. I
Hmm.
started out, oh, do I really want to do this? Do I really want to do this? So like by the second, and I've done it numerous times. Yeah, this is it. I'm doing it this time, and I'm like, you know what? I want that hoagie. I want this. I want that.
Yeah.
But this time it was like, no, I'm
Hmm.
going to do this. And now it's like, you want me to do what before I go to the gym? I can't. I can't do that.
like I'm
We can
sorry,
do
yeah,
it
I
after
can't
the gym.
sacrifice my gym time.
No, I will do
That's
that
my
after the
mental
gym,
space.
or I'll get
Hmm.
up super early so I can
Hmm.
do the gym and then go do whatever I have to do. And
Absolutely.
that's the same thing that's going to happen to the men in your program. Like once they start, they're
Yes.
going to want to do this. They're going to see the change,
It's a
in their
lifestyle
lifestyle,
change. Hmm.
even in their family lives, in their surroundings, even in their
Hmm.
jobs. It to me it makes such a big impact on them. And again, I keep talking about the returning citizens,
Yeah,
because that's important,
it
because
is.
they need that, that push, that
Hmm.
because they've been put down for so
They've
long.
already been cast out.
Right,
They're already like you don't count. Now,
right,
and for all the other guys, we're not saying that y'all don't count either, right? Like I
right,
want everyone to understand this is, it's important for everybody. But when we're starting to talk about equity, right, and evening the playing field, understand that again, the lifestyle change is that much more difficult for a returning citizen than it is for myself who is not a returning citizen,
right,
right?
right,
That is just the flat out truth.
right.
So
And I
sometimes you have to
think,
pour a little bit more
go
support in
ahead.
there.
And
I
I
was just
think
gonna say,
for you,
yeah, go ahead.
it gives them the safe space,
Yes.
to be able
Yes.
to, let all that stuff fall off and know
Hmm.
that it's okay.
Hmm.
So when you are doing your sessions, do you do both
Sure.
group or do you do more one-on-one?
Yeah, I do both. I've done one-to-one sessions and group sessions. Obviously, it's a different dynamic,
Mm-hmm.
but I find that with group sessions, not only do you get some one-to-one time, but you also get to then form a community
Mm-hmm.
because that's also what you need to thrive, right?
Right.
You have to
Right.
be around like-minded people.
Absolutely.
So in that small group that starts to form, you now have a brother that you can call on in that moment of I'll call it sabotage, right? Where
Mhm.
you're feeling, man, I'm getting pulled back in, or I'm having a weak moment, and it's okay, right? But it from the group trainings, from the group sessions, you get to have someone else that can help keep you accountable to the new lifestyle that you're trying to
Yes,
create.
yes. And someone that
And
you can be with, like
yeah,
you said, like,
absolutely.
I think that is very important, because
Yeah.
then it gets you away from your old ways,
Hmm.
and old
Hmm.
people and old situations and things that are comfortable, to you,
Absolutely.
to the new,
Yeah.
new life.
And that's it. Like even in my own personal life, I don't cut people off, right? Even I've got long time friendships, people I grew up with, this, that, and the other. Maybe we're in touch, maybe we're not. I don't know, right? But I'm not sitting here saying anything that they're doing is wrong if they're just here. That's
Yeah,
okay. If
yeah.
that's where you want to be, if you're not ready to thrive, you can't be forced to do
Mhm,
that, right?
mhm.
But if you are tired of surviving, if you are tired of playing the blame game, right? We can blame the system. Here's another one. Here's another good one. Oh, there's no good women out there.
Yeah,
You can do that too. You can blame all of that.
all
But
of it.
really, what do you have to do? Like I said earlier, you point the finger in, because what is it? What space are you creating to attract and create the life you want?
Mhm, mhm.
That's how moving from surviving to thriving works. And
Right,
that's as a coach, Valerie, here it's very simple. And I know you know this, but I'll tell your viewers, this is what I get to do. I don't tell anyone what to do at all.
right.
I present a mirror to you.
Mhm, mhm.
I present a mirror, I have you look at it, and I don't judge you for it. I just show you what is.
Yes.
If you have trouble looking in the mirror, cool. I will hold space for you until you're ready to look into it so
Mhm,
that you can change it if you choose.
mhm, mhm.
The work is on individuals. I
Yes.
get to share insight in what I see and tools to help you keep thriving and
Yeah.
keep from surviving only and keep thriving.